For years, corporate strategy relied on a simple debate. Are we in an era of globalization or deglobalization? That binary is now analytically useless. International business is now shaped by economic security concerns. States use subsidies, supply chain policies, and trade law to pursue explicit geopolitical goals alongside economic ones. Navigating this requires precise vocabulary. Techno-nationalism is the alignment of technological capacity with state power and national security objectives. Decoupling refers specifically to the weakening of interdependence between rival states or blocs. De-risking describes efforts to reduce concentrated exposure without necessarily ending commercial ties altogether. These legal and regulatory priorities now co-produce international business strategy. Market size alone is no longer a sufficient metric for success. Economic security becomes operational through specific, identifiable legal instruments. This toolkit includes market access rules, foreign direct investment screening, export controls, data governance requirements, and industrial policy. Not every firm will face every instrument. Exposure varies depending on the specific sector and the structure of the value chain. Strategic expansion requires a map of exactly which of these legal levers matter in a specific jurisdiction. A lecture or strategy that speaks only in geopolitical generalities leaves executives with atmosphere rather than analysis. In China, national security and data governance control remain central to the regulatory framework. Effective from January 2020, the Foreign Investment Law establishes pre-establishment national treatment. This ensures foreign investors are treated no less favorably than domestic investors during the initial market entry phase, unless a sector is specifically restricted. Restrictions are detailed in a negative list. The 2024 Special Administrative Measures widened formal access by shrinking this list to 29 items and removing manufacturing restrictions. However, Article 35 of the Foreign Investment Law also establishes a national security review system for foreign investment. The 2020 measures for the security review of foreign investment operationalize this for sensitive sectors and control structures, scanning capital that the negative list might otherwise allow. China's legal framework separates general openness from security-sensitive review, operationalizing both priorities at once. This logic extends to data. The 2021 Data Security Law and the 2025 Regulations on Network Data Security Management require all multinationals, not just technology companies, to treat data governance as a mainstream compliance task. Any large multinational handling operational, customer, or industrial data in China now faces specific market entry and compliance risks. Similarly, China's export control law mandates that firms balance security with development, adhering to a holistic view of national security. These rules define a market that remains the world's second largest economy and central to global trade and innovation networks. At the same time, official sources identify structural headwinds, such as property sector adjustments, mounting local government debt, and productivity pressures. Because of these compounded legal and structural pressures, firms cannot treat market size as a sufficient proxy for investability or ease of compliance. Analyzing India requires the same level of precision. According to official IMF materials, India remains the fastest-growing major economy. OECD data underlines the continuing importance of the services sector in driving this growth. This growth is supported by world-class digital public infrastructure. This refers to the open-source digital networks that enable seamless identity verification and payments, making digital transactions a ground-level reality for vendors across the country. This digital capacity exists alongside continuing physical infrastructure gaps and an active policy push to raise manufacturing productivity. India combines high digital state capacity with active infrastructure reform, moving beyond a generic story of delayed industrial catch-up. India's foreign investment framework is characterized by liberalization filtered through selective screening. Many sectors, including manufacturing, remain under the automatic route, allowing 100% foreign investment without prior government approval. However, Press Note 3, issued in 2020, requires government route approval for investments from countries sharing a land border with India. The March 2026 Press Note 2 further refined this by scrutinizing beneficial ownership structures and introducing new reporting requirements. Crucially, this 2026 decision only takes effect from the date of a corresponding notification under the Foreign Exchange Management Act. This distinction separates announced policy from operative legal effect. Data governance is also a cornerstone of compliance. India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 and the staged 2025 rules govern how companies process personal data. Platform strategy, customer acquisition, and global outsourcing models are now deeply shaped by this privacy and data governance architecture. This regional policy setting alters how business risk is interpreted. Strategic alignments shape how states imagine connectivity and economic order. China's Belt and Road Initiative and India's Act East policy represent competing connectivity visions. India's participation in the Quad further positions it within a specific Indo-Pacific strategic framework. Because of these alignments, the same supply chain or investment project will be regulated differently depending on a state's security exposure and industrial priorities. China offers deeper manufacturing ecosystems governed by formalized security and data rules. India offers growth and digital capacity within an evolving framework of selective screening and infrastructure reform. For multinational firms, the consequence is the necessity of jurisdiction-specific compliance mapping rather than a generic regional strategy. Country risk is no longer external to operations. It is embedded in licensing, data processing, vendor relationships, capital structure, and board-level governance. De-risking describes the rigorous, calibrated management of exposure across these differentiated regulatory regimes.